The first time she said the word divorce, it landed like a glass slipping from my hand, quiet at first, then suddenly shattered. I remember blinking, honestly thinking I'd misheard her. Like my brain rejected it before my heart could catch up. We were standing in the kitchen, late evening, the kind of tired hour where nothing dramatic is supposed to happen. The dishwasher hummed. The dog slept between us like a truce. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She just said it cleanly, like she'd practiced. I think I want a divorce. No build-up. No warning shot. Just that. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my body didn't know what else to do. 8 years married, 12 together, and this was how it came out? Between leftover containers and a flickering light bulb? I asked her what brought this on. She shrugged. That shrug still lives in my chest. Casual. Almost bored. I just don't think this is working anymore. The thing is, 2 days earlier, we'd been planning a weekend trip. A week before that, she'd cried in my arms about how overwhelmed she felt at work. I'd listened. I always listened. I thought that was love, staying, absorbing, holding space. I didn't beg that night. Not yet. I asked questions. I tried to understand. She gave me phrases instead of answers. I need to find myself. I'm not happy. This isn't about you. Those sentences are knives because they sound gentle. She slept in the guest room. I didn't sleep at all. I stared at the ceiling replaying the last year, searching for the moment I missed. The fight that went too far. The silence I didn't notice. I kept landing on nothing. That scared me more than anger would have. The next day, she went out for coffee with her friends. I know because she told me. Too deliberately. Like she wanted me to picture it. I spent the afternoon pacing, drafting speeches in my head, rehearsing how not to fall apart. I promised myself I wouldn't beg. I wanted to be dignified. Calm. A man worth choosing. When she came home, her energy was different. Lighter. Almost confident. She stood by the counter, scrolling her phone, not looking at me. I think we should take some space, she said. Maybe it'll make things clearer. That's when I felt it, the shift. Not the divorce itself, but the posture. Like she'd already stepped onto a different shore and was waving back at me. I asked her if there was someone else. She scoffed. Too fast. No. This is just something I need to do for me. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. So I did what I've always done. I stayed reasonable. I suggested counseling. Time. Effort. She nodded along like someone humoring a child. That night, she fell asleep easily. I didn't. My chest felt hollow, like something essential had been quietly removed. Over the next week, the word divorce became normal in her mouth. She said it over dinner. In the car. Once, even jokingly. Well, if we're getting divorced anyway, followed by a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. Each time, she watched me carefully, measuring, waiting. That's when I started to realize something wasn't adding up. This wasn't confusion. This was rehearsal. One evening, as she showered, her phone lit up on the nightstand. I didn't grab it. I didn't need to. I'd already noticed the pattern. The sudden outings, the constant texting, the way certain names kept coming up, especially Rachel. Rachel was newly divorced. Loud about it. Proud of it. The kind of friend who called heartbreak freedom and meant it. I remembered something my wife had said after one of their lunches, almost offhand. Rachel thinks people stay married way too long. At the time, I'd shrugged it off. Now, lying awake in the dark, it echoed differently. By the end of the week, my wife sat across from me and said, calmly, almost kindly, I think it would be easier if you just accepted this. Fighting it will only make it worse. That sentence told me everything. She wasn't asking anymore. She was waiting for me to collapse. And the strangest part? I think she expected me to beg. The begging never came. And that's what changed everything. I could feel her waiting for it. The pauses after she said divorce. The way she lingered in doorways. The glances when I stayed quiet too long. She was braced for tears, promises, desperation. Something she could point to later and say, see? He lost it. But instead, something colder settled in me. Not anger. Not pride. Awareness. I started noticing details I'd ignored before. How she'd step outside to take calls. How she'd suddenly protect her phone like it was fragile glass. How certain conversations stopped the second I walked into the room. When I asked who she was texting, she didn't snap. She smiled. Softly, like I was already a memory. One night, while she folded laundry, she said, if we do this, I don't want it to be messy. As if it wasn't already decided. I asked her what that meant. She shrugged again, that same shrug. No drama. No dragging things out. I don't want guilt trips or begging. There it was, clean and unguarded. I looked at her hands folding my shirts, and something in me detached. I realized she wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of inconvenience. Later that week, I ran into Rachel by accident at the grocery store. She was loud, radiant, carrying herself like someone freshly unburdened. She hugged me too tightly and said, "Wow, you look tired." Then, almost playfully, "Big changes, huh?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. That night, I asked my wife, directly, what Rachel thought about all this. She hesitated. Just a fraction. She thinks, sometimes you have to be firm. Say what you want and let the other person react. I nodded. And what do you want? She met my eyes for the first time in days. I want a divorce. There was no emotion in it now. Just confidence. Like she'd finally followed instructions correctly. I went for a walk after that. No phone. No destination. Just the sound of my own breathing and a question I couldn't escape. Why does this feel staged? The answer came slowly, painfully, but clearly. She didn't want to leave. She wanted to be chased, validated, reassured that she was still wanted, still powerful, even as she pulled the pin. I wasn't supposed to agree. I was supposed to fight. When I came home, she was on the couch scrolling, relaxed. She looked up. "So, have you thought about it?" "Yes," I said. Her posture straightened, shoulders squared. "Showtime." "I think you're right," I continued. "We should move forward." The silence that followed was loud. Too loud. She blinked. "Wait, what?" "I don't want to drag this out," I said calmly. "You deserve clarity." She laughed, but it came out wrong. "You're just saying that because you're scared. You'll feel different tomorrow." "No," I said. "I won't." That was the first crack. Not panic yet, confusion. Over the next few days, I stopped asking questions. Stopped initiating conversations. I slept fine for the first time in weeks. She didn't. She started circling back, testing, leaving doors open, touching my arm in passing, mentioning memories. One night, she said, "You know, couples get through worse than this." I looked at her and realized something terrifyingly simple. She thought she was in control. She didn't know I'd already called a lawyer. She didn't know I'd already made copies of everything. She didn't know that when she said divorce, I heard permission. And while she waited for me to beg, I prepared to let go. The papers sat in my briefcase for 3 days before I told her. Not because I was hesitating, but because I wanted to be certain of myself. There's a difference between reacting and deciding. I needed to know this wasn't pride or shock talking. I needed to know I could live with the quiet afterward. Meanwhile, she grew restless. She started narrating her independence out loud, talking about apartments she'd casually looked at, mentioning how liberating it felt to imagine living alone. Every sentence sounded rehearsed, like lines she'd practiced with an audience that wasn't me. One night, she said, "Rachel thinks dragging things out just makes men cling harder." She watched my face carefully when she said it. That was the moment everything clicked. This wasn't just her idea. It was a script. Say you want a divorce. Pull back. Wait for him to beg. Decide your worth by how hard he tries to stop you. I almost felt embarrassed for not seeing it sooner. The next morning, I met with my attorney again. We reviewed everything calmly. Assets, timelines, logistics. No drama. No revenge. Just facts. By the end, he slid the finalized papers across the desk and said, "You're being unusually composed." I smiled. I've had practice letting go. That evening, she came home energized. Too energized. She cooked dinner, something she hadn't done in weeks. She poured wine. She even laughed, light and careless, like the early days. Halfway through the meal, she said, "I've been thinking, maybe we rushed this conversation." There it was. The bait. I looked at her and realized how strange it was that clarity made me feel nothing. No relief, no triumph. Just stillness. "I agree," I said. "We shouldn't rush." Her shoulders relaxed. She reached for her glass, confident now. "I knew you'd come around." I stood up, walked to the hallway, and brought back the briefcase. Her smile faltered, but only slightly. "What's that?" I set it on the table between us. "Didn't open it yet." "You wanted clarity," I said. "So did I." She laughed nervously. "Okay, this is dramatic." I opened the case and slid the papers toward her. Divorce. Filed. Signed by me. The room changed instantly, like the air had been pulled out. Her eyes moved over the pages too fast, then back again, searching for something she didn't expect to find, finality. Wait, she said. What is this? It's what you asked for, I replied. Calm. Even. No, she said quickly, pushing the papers back like they burned. I didn't mean now. I meant, we were supposed to talk first. We did, I said. For weeks. Her breathing changed. Shorter. Sharper. You weren't supposed to do this without me. That sentence told me everything. I watched the panic set in, not heartbreak, not grief. Loss of control. This was supposed to scare you, she said before she could stop herself. The words hung there, naked. I said nothing. She stood up abruptly. This isn't fair. You're being cold. You're punishing me. I'm respecting your decision, I said. The one you repeated. Her voice cracked. I thought you'd fight for us. I finally looked at her, really looked. You didn't ask me to fight, I said quietly. You asked me to leave. She sank back into her chair, hands shaking now. Rachel said, she started, then stopped. I nodded once. I know. And for the first time since this began, she looked afraid, not of divorce, but of miscalculation. Because she hadn't planned for this version of me. She thought I'd beg. She didn't know I'd already let go. She didn't sleep that night. I know because neither did I, and every time I passed the hallway, her light was on. By morning, the confidence she'd been wearing for weeks was gone. In its place was something raw and unpracticed. Fear doesn't rehearse well. She tried reason first. We sat at the table with coffee growing cold between us, and she spoke carefully, like someone negotiating terms they no longer controlled. We don't have to file right away. People say things when they're overwhelmed. That doesn't mean they want it. I listened, really listened, and for the first time, I heard the absence. No, I love you. No, I'm sorry. Just recalibration. I told her the papers were already submitted. There was a brief window to respond, but the direction was set. I wasn't threatening. I was explaining. That's when she panicked. Her voice rose, then cracked. She cried. Not quietly, not privately, but urgently, like time itself was running out. She asked how I could do this so fast. She accused me of being heartless. She said I was abandoning her when she was just trying to feel secure. That word, secure, almost made me laugh. I asked her one question. Only one. If I had begged, would you still want this? She froze. Not denial. Not outrage. Silence. And in that silence, the truth finally spoke without words. She sat back, wiping her face, shaking her head like she'd misread a map. Rachel said men only respect you if you're willing to walk away, she whispered. She said if you didn't fight, it meant you never cared. I nodded slowly. And if I fought, she swallowed, then I'd know I mattered. There it was. Not love. Not partnership. Proof. I told her something then. Not cruelly, not triumphantly. Just honestly. I would have fought for us if you'd fought with me. But you didn't want a marriage. You wanted a mirror. That was the moment she broke. Not theatrically, but deeply. She cried the way people do when they realize they've gambled something irreplaceable on bad advice. Over the next week, she cycled through everything. Anger, affection, nostalgia, promises. She sent me messages from the other room. Left notes. Touched my arm like muscle memory could rewrite reality. But it was too late. Not because of pride, but because clarity has weight. Once you carry it, you don't put it down again. Rachel texted me once. Long message. Half apology, half justification. I didn't respond. This wasn't about her anymore. On the day my wife moved out, she stood at the door and said, very softly, I didn't think you'd actually let me go. I believed her. And that's the part people don't understand. Letting go wasn't revenge. It wasn't strength. It was acceptance of who she was and who I'd become. I didn't win. I just stopped playing a game designed to make me lose myself. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do when someone says divorce is believe them.